Hi everyone, today we'll be talking about headache, and as you know, I would prefer to have a good assessment on you in depth and then recommend, even when we talk about plants, herbs, supplements, nutrition, hydration, movement, this is still tailored to your unique personal needs. So in those lives, I give general education about a little bit about the theory of what we're talking about, and then we talk about different approaches, but they are always general. They might not work for every person, or they have to be tailored to your needs. So today we're going to talk about a headache, or as they call it, cephalalgia. This is the Latin name, which is a common symptom often associated with disability, but is not a life-threatening problem. Headache might be primary disorder, or it can be a secondary symptom. This is very important to know that if you have fibromyalgia, or you have chronic fatigue, or you have arthritis, or you name it, hypertension, you might end up with a headache as well. And I'm hoping to shed some light here so we understand better the process, why we have headache, because only when we know why we have headache, then this is 50% of the job done towards healing. Then you will know how to deal with the problem and what to do. So pain occurring all over various of the head, various parts of the head, is one of the most common health complaints. And let me tell you, in North America, in the emergency rooms, the fifth most common complaint is headache. So you see how many people complain from it and how spread that is. So that's why it's very important to discuss it and to constantly look for solutions. And despite that your head hurts, however, your bones of the head, of the skull, and the tissues of the brain itself never hurt. Why? Because they lack pain-sensitive nerve fibers. Isn't that fascinating? The head hurts, but not the brain, not the skull. So in general, pain is a complex experience, consisting of a physiological response to a painful stimulus, followed by an emotional response. And we'll be talking about emotions at least a few times here, because as I said before, when we have thoughts, we produce emotions, and those emotions change us hormonally from inside. Therefore, we change physically because our many processes in the body, fluid movements, and many others depend on hormonal balance that we have. So that's why I will talk about emotional response quite a lot. So it is a warning mechanism, the pain, how it works, that helps to protect us and is primarily associated with injury or the threat of injury of bodily tissues. So this is what pain is. But the headache is different from pain. For most headaches, even when the pain is severe, no underlying disease exists. And this is very important to understand, that people can have only headaches but are not diagnosed with anything chronic, or even anything which is needs emergency attention. Obviously, headache related to the presence of a brain tumor represents an exception, as the hypertension and the other diseases I just mentioned. Childhood experiences, cultural, listen to this, cultural attitudes, Genetic makeup as well as gender are factors that contribute to development of each individual's perception of and response to different type of pain. And although that some people may be able to physiologically withstand pain better than others, cultural factors rather than hereditary usually account for this ability. I was very much fascinated to learn that cultural factors can play such a role in withstanding pain. Most headaches are caused by fatigue, emotional disorders, and allergies or intolerances. I'm talking about food and intolerances to food, of course. Only about 2% of all headaches result from organic disease, like the ones I mentioned, hypertension already a few times, aneurysm, diseases of the eye, ear, nose, throat, sinuses, as well as brain tumors. So those account only for 2%. The rest, 90-80%, are caused by fatigue, emotional disorders, or allergies and different problems with foods which we eat, intolerances. The stimulation of the membranous lining of the brain and the nerves of the cranium and upper neck can be reproduced by inflammation. I'm talking about the stimulation, not about the linings of the brain. Second one is dilation and of normal and abnormal blood vessels, and or muscle spasms in the neck. So the dilation and the stimulation of blood vessels is in the head, and the muscle spasms are in the neck or in the head as well. We have muscles in the head. So headaches brought on by muscle spasms are called or classified as tension headaches. The other headaches that are caused by dilation of blood vessels are called vascular headaches. Headaches also can be divided into the following groups. I will offer you 4 groups. First of all is environmental. What is environmental type of headache? Due to pollutants, body posture, lighting, sound, and other factors. Stress is number 2, physical stress, emotional stress, and mental stress. The third group is dietary. Possible allergies to certain foods or additives, for example, xanthan, for example, or organic due to diseases such as hypertension, brain tumors, which I mentioned before. So pain also may be referred to the head, but it can be felt in the head even though the site of the disease is elsewhere. So if there is a problem with the liver, we can still experience headache. So the pain is referred to the head, but the site of the disease is somewhere else in the body. Referred pain may be caused by eye disorder, such as glaucoma, infections, tumors of the nasal sinuses, for instance, dental infections, yes, dental infections, arthritis of the neck as well. In addition, headaches are one of the most common side effects of prescribed drugs, prescriptions, and over-the-counter drugs, making it very, very difficult to list all the potentially problematic medicines. So have in mind, when you take medications and all of a sudden you get a headache, talk to your doctor to maybe change the medication or change the way you take the medication. So many plants are used to alleviate the pain of the headache, but they don't always work for every person. That's why we need the assessment. That's why we need to know very well what is going on with your body. That's why we need in-depth the conversation about your condition. So possible specifics for headaches are herbs like wormwood or artemisia, capsicum. This is cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is a stimulant of the blood and nourishing agent of the blood. It is absolutely amazing thing you can take a few times a day. So I put it in a lot of food, and in the morning you can have it with a little bit of lemon, water, and cayenne pepper. It will do a lot of good to your body. I put half a teaspoon or even a little bit less. Then we have lavender. I will talk about lavender oil a little bit later as well, but lavender as a plant can be taken as an infusion as well. Chamomile, a very gentle nervine. Chamomile is tolerated by anybody. I've never seen somebody not to like the smell or the taste or anything. It's very mild, it's very pleasant. Lemon balm is similar, it's a little bit stronger. Peppermint. Mint, there's so many types of mint. I have in my garden 6. So Mentha piperita is the peppermint. I'm talking about this one. Yes, and you will see later on it can be used alone or in together with lavender and other herbs. So it's a very strong herb, and I prefer to use it alone mostly. So another one is Jamaican dogwood or rosemary. Rosemary is a great herb, and it helps in many ways our health, and one of them is for headaches. So which are the common headache triggers? So let me mention a few and explain. Almost all individuals with headaches have some degree of muscle irritation in the upper body. That upper body is the shoulder girdle, the upper back, the neck, or the face. The irritation is most often associated with chronic but subtle muscle tension, which is the worst thing ever because it is constant during the day, and people adapt to it and they forget that this can be cured, changed, healed. Okay, I shouldn't use the word cured, healed, changed, and etc. And they learn to live with it, which is wrong. This applies to both tension and migraine headache, for which we're not going to talk today. Over time, this tension may lead to development of over-tender muscles. Let me tell you, a muscle which is constantly in tension becomes, we call it taut muscle, T-O-T, which means it's a tight but weak muscle. You know that tight muscles are strong muscles, but they can be also weak from a constant pressure. And what happens also is the nerves serving those muscles very often get inflamed, and inflammation on a nerve reflects this way. The nerve becomes shorter and thicker, and it hurts a lot. Very unpleasant. People who have sciatica, for instance, they know very well what I'm talking about. So also over time, that tension in the muscles can cause aching with a normal movement, stiffness from being in one position or lying in bed for a long time, or even restrictions in the extent to which the individual can move his or her neck or jaw. So it's very, very hard when we have muscle problem. Primary headache triggers include stress. You know, stress is one of my favorite things to talk about with the clients, because since I understood the pathway of which stress works, I'm fully convinced that 90% of our conditions are due to the mental stress, and I can explain that if you want me to. Physically, what happens in the body while the body has stress. So it is a very powerful headache trigger, particularly for chronic tension headaches or migraines. A major life event such as divorce or moving can cause stress, but let me tell you, constant daily hassles can have an even greater effect, because they are constant. It's 24/7. It's not like we are stressed, we relax, we recover, and we are ready to be stressed again. That is constant. So another trigger can be emotions. Quite ordinary emotions such as sense of letdown, frustration, can serve as headache triggers. And emotions are very powerful to make us sick and or to heal us as well. Okay, muscle tension can be produced locally, can produce local pain, pain in the site of muscle irritation, or referred pain in sites distant from the irritated muscle. For example, we can feel pain, let's say, in the toe, but the problem to be in the calf muscle. That's what I wanted to say. For example, for the headache, muscle irritation at the back of the neck can cause severe pain at the temple of the same side of the head. So if it's on the back of the neck on this side, it can cause a severe pain here. So that's why evaluation is very important. Chronic muscle tension may arise from a variety of causes, like poor posture. This is very, very common. Repeated muscle strain or overuse, tightening up under the effects of stress or headache itself, teeth grinding, mannerisms such as frowning. Yeah, it can cause headache as well. Change in the weather or the season can cause headache, altitude or time zone. Have you went through this experience? You're coming off the plane and you feel that you're not feeling all right. If you've been 8 hours on the plane and you change the time zone, really, yes, you can have a headache. Change of the sleep patterns and meal times can cause headache. Some people are very sensitive to meal times. We all are sensitive to sleep patterns, regardless of the fact if you believe it or don't believe it. Our sleep cycle depends on the cycle of the sun and the moon, period. 10 to 2 o'clock we have physical recovery. 2 to 6 o'clock we have predominantly psychological recovery, and or predominantly physical from 10 to 2 o'clock. And this cannot be changed, because that's the way our organism works with the light and the darkness. Of course, those hours can slightly be moved. It depends if you're on the equator or you're in the northern hemisphere, up north, or further down. Yes, it can be changed by an hour or so, or 2 hours. What else? Smoking. Let's talk about smoking. So polluted air or stuffy rooms, that can trigger headaches for sure. So chronic headache is one of the very serious reasons to quit smoking. Smoking in general seems to be a negative factor for people with chronic pain conditions, including headaches. Nicotine constricts the blood vessels, due to which the vessel becomes with thicker walls, and not the adequate amount of blood cannot go through those vessels. That's why we have a lot of heart attacks amongst smokers. It's not mainly the respiratory system that is damaged by smoking, or the lungs, but it's really the cardiovascular system, and this is very important to understand. I want to say that while the nicotine constricts the blood vessels, and inhaled monoxide expands them, thus creating a condition that can trigger migraines and cluster headaches. Cluster headaches are very much linked to smoking as well. So another one is blood clotting. Blood clotting, also known as platelet aggregation. Clotting creates constriction of the arteries, which result in an inadequate blood supply to the brain. This is followed by rebound dilation of the blood vessels, leading to the headaches. Very important to know about blood clots. Caffeine can cause headaches by increasing the body's expectation for it. So we all know what withdrawal means, including headache. It might set in. So when blood levels of caffeine drop, symptoms of withdrawal, including headache, may set in. And that's why some heavy coffee drinkers experience that morning headache until they have that first cup of coffee. So caffeine headaches are usually experienced as a dull, throbbing pain in both sides of the head. Once the body rids itself of the caffeine, the headaches disappear on their own. So such headache sufferers, however, are often unaware that their problem is due to headaches, and will continue to drink coffee, which is a wrong thing to do, of course. Another trigger are foods. So I will tell you a few foods which unfortunately are known to trigger headaches in sensitive people. So this is very important. Of course, after people are diagnosed with a chronic condition, they become even more sensitive as this condition develops. So red and white wine and alcohol at all. This is the biggest maybe trigger for headaches. Then we have refined sugar, maybe the same, just as big, or the second one. For example, sodas, candies, especially all the cakes and pastry, wheat, rye. These are very, very, they have a high glycemic index, and it's not only the gluten which is the problem. The problem is that they go into the blood flow too fast and play with our blood sugar. Other foods are dried fruits. Dried fruits that have sulfates. So artificial additives, colorings, preservatives, like aspartame, also nuts, especially the peanut nut, which is one of the nuts which is allowed more fungi to have in it while offering to the public than any other nut. Just because this nut is from this type, it cannot be cleaned by so many fungi. So yes, it can cause a headache. Surprisingly for me, onions and herring. Chocolate is another one. We all know, not only because of the sugar, but because of the caffeine as well. And some people are sensitive to chicken liver, so it can lead to headache. I didn't know this before, honestly. Chicken liver is one of my favorite foods. Sour cream and yogurt products can, especially if they're sweetened. I'm talking about the yogurt products. Vinegar can be very triggering for some sensitive people. Bananas, grapes as well, because of huge percent of sugar. Anything that is fermented as pickles or marinated at all. Also beans like garbanzo beans, pinto beans, lima, navy beans, peas. Foods containing large amounts of monosodium glutamate or MSG. Caffeine, we said a few words about that. Citrus fruit and juices. Fermented sausages, bologna, salami, pepperoni, hot dogs, ham also. All those prepped food, meats that stay on the shelf for a very long time. And cheeses, ripened cheeses like Brie, Stilton, cheddar, Emmentaler, Gruyere, Camembert, yeah, those cheeses. So what treatments we can offer with essential oils? Many essential oils can be used to relieve a headache, and today I'm going to mention only 4 of them. And these are lavandula, that's the Latin name, or lavender, rosmarin, Rosmarinus officinalis, mentha piperita or peppermint, especially peppermint, not the other types of mint, which mint can be used either separately or in combination, as it's a very strong oil. Lavandula may be wrapped on the temples or made into a cold compress and put it on the forehead, on the temples as well, or on the back of your neck. I personally love lavandula, or this is lavender. And both lavandula and mentha piperita may be even more effective, for the lavandula has the ability to enhance the action of other oils when used in blends. It's also worth noting that while lavender is a sedative, mint is a stimulant, and that is in the case of many commercial headache remedies as a combination between sedative and stimulant. They use caffeine as a stimulant because some of the analgesics they use are so strong that they have a depressant effect on people, and the caffeine counteracts those effects. By combining lavandula and mint, a similar effect is achieved without the dangers of inherent and synthetic drugs. So if headaches are caused by catarrh or sinus infection as well, inhalations of lavender or mint or rosmarinus or eucalyptus, very nice, will usually be very effective in both relieving the headache and clearing the sinuses from congestion. All of these oils are antiseptic and will combat the nasal infection and provide immediate symptom relief. So all the four: lavender, mint, rosemary, and eucalyptus. So how we treat tension headaches? We said that they're related to muscle tension, and because of its effectiveness in easing anxiety as a component of stress management programs, herbal medicine has most to contribute to the alleviation of tension headaches. If a period of stress can be predicted, you know, this is through evaluation and etc., one can be prepared ahead of time to implement appropriate herbs, diet and lifestyle changes to minimize the impact of it. Nervine relaxants, like those I will list just now, can be used regularly as gentle soothing remedies, drunk hot or cold as infusions, infused in massage, including food baths, relaxing baths, and etc. So the following you can use like this, as I just mentioned. For instance, Artemisia, or the so-called mugwort, oats, chamomile, a very, very gentle nervine, lemon balm, also very pleasant nervine, kava, skull cups. Another one is linden blossoms. This is one of my favorite. It has a very nice aroma. It's a lovely, lovely tea. Vervain is another one. So all these you can do infusions. You can do them, apply them cold, you can apply them hot, warm, you can do creams with them, you can do food baths, and whatever you like. What about supplements? Daily supplements of B complex vitamins are very, very important. B complex vitamins are crucial for every condition. And another one is vitamin C. Vitamin C, the daily intake is from 90 milligrams to, you can go up to 2000 milligrams. This is for the adults only. So another thing are relaxation exercises that are invaluable because they promote right breathing. You know, through respiratory exercises, we balance our biochemistry, which is very important for every condition. Although this may be impossible, everyone should be encouraged not to simply put up with something or someone just because it's there, available or around. We talk about person. It is possible for people to change themselves and to change their lives. I strongly believe in that, and let me tell you, when you go to a doctor, you believe that the doctor will help you. You believe that things can change because that's the way we are programmed. The same way when you go to a wellness therapist like me or another holistic health practitioner, if you don't believe that we can help you, we won't help you. And I'll tell you why. Because you will sabotage yourself all the time with this belief that it is possible to alleviate your symptoms or even to heal in many cases. So that's why reevaluating choices is always valuable, and that's why I constantly need your feedback. When I work with you, I constantly I'm going after my clients for accountability purposes, to make sure that they do what they promise me to do, and to make sure I support them when they can't do it or are not able for some reasons. I feel that I need to be there, so we march forward. There are some general dietary guidelines which I can offer to you in relation with headache. With headache, we don't suggest people to fast. If they do intermittent fasting, it has to be not too long, let's say 12 hours or so. They might go on a juice kind of a diet, but they have to be monitored, because for most of the people, not eating while having headache is very hard. So that's why it's recommended to eat smaller and more frequent meals, especially for headaches. Also, the fat intake to be reduced as much as possible, and I'm especially talking about the bad fat, the vegetable fats, the vegetable oils. This is very important. I suggest to my clients to stop them. Caffeine, tea, cola, chocolate has to be reduced or stopped. Reduce the salt, and especially the table salt. I have no problem with the Celtic sea salt, because I recommend it very often for better hydration. It has a very high magnesium content. Another thing is to increase the consumption of decrease the consumption of complex carbs, like pasta, corn, potatoes, crackers, bread. So to increase the potassium intakes with foods like apricots, asparagus, celery, potatoes sparingly, not all the time, carrots, broccoli as well, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, all the crucified vegetables. Also, it's very important to increase the magnesium intake, and I will just give you how much magnesium per day, but you can do that through legumes and green vegetables. And of course, to limit alcohol. This is another suggestion. About the magnesium is good to be taken twice daily, 200 to 300 milligrams. Another supplement I would like to offer is the fish oil, 3 to 4 grams per day with meals. So these are the basic supplements. It depends on the case. I very often suggest supplements like CoQ10, selenium, which is a precursor for very strong antioxidant in the body, and other supplements which are important to support us while we are healing. And then we can go off them for a few months, and then we can go back with smaller doses, just to make sure that our new lifestyle is supported. And by the time the body rebuilds, we have enough energy, we can decrease the amount of the supplements taken. For instance, in the summer, I spend a lot of time outside in the sun. I'm not taking vitamin D then, but this is just for a few months. After that, we have a lot of rain and gray sky, and yes, I take big amounts of vitamin D. So that's what it is about headaches today. If you have any questions, please don't be shy to ask me, to approach. Also in this group, Lori and Leah are also available to ask them questions if for some reason you're shy to ask me directly. And I'm looking forward to meeting you and to answer your questions. Thank you.
Leave a question or comment and we'll be glad to answer. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.